Good afternoon. My name is Justin Horwitz with Renaissance Learning, and I'll be your host today. Hey, thank you for attending Freckle by Renaissance webinar for educational leaders. We understand the challenges leaders like yourself are facing as you navigate both before the pandemic and since there's unique new challenges you're facing in this uncertain time. But just know you're not alone in this. Just yesterday, when speaking to Congress about reopening schools in the fall, Dr. Fauci left out whether this should happen, continue to leave educational leaders in a tough spot as how to best proceed. And as we have conversations with leaders across the United States and the world for that matter, it's clear everyone is in a different place in their journey of identifying quality and effective resources to support distance learning. Everywhere from not having a plan but needing one, to having a temporary plan that needs replacing, to having a solutions but with gaps like IEP support for your special education population, to being in a hold pattern until there's more clarity. Whatever your situation is, we're here to help you be a thought partner to learn about your specific needs and provide the right solutions to help you reach your goals. As we flip to the next slide, we'd love to hear from you where you are in your journey. So please take a moment to respond to the poll and we can check the results later. And as you're working on the poll, what we're realizing is when we're working with leaders, within each leader's journey to really identify the best solutions to support all stakeholders, there's several components of a distance learning platform educators must have in order to execute an effective distance learning platform. These criteria are oftentimes directed by the state and are only effective if you have all the features. For example, you can have the greatest data reports, but if students aren't engaged in the platform, the data becomes less meaningful. So as we dive into the Freckle platform today, you can expect to see an overview of Freckle's content and capabilities designed to support all educators, including those critical elements we saw in the previous slide. We'll look at how Freckle provides education leaders visibility into progress, student mastery, and grade level readiness, and how you can easily monitor school, teacher, and even student activity within the administrator dashboard. With that said, I'd like to introduce our presenters today, Melissa Bryn, who's our former district math coordinator, who will walk us through the features and benefits of the student and teacher side of the Freckle platform. We have Donovan DeHuncy, who's a former school administrator, who will show us the data available at your fingertips in the administrator dashboard, which will help guide instruction, planning, and accountability. And then Debbie Roberts, who's our product manager for Freckle, who will provide an overview of Freckle to ground you in our platform. So let's start there and kick it over to Debbie.
Cool, awesome. Thank you, Justin. Super excited to be here with you guys today. So just a quick jump into our mission. Freckle is a practice component of Renaissance Learning, who has been a leader in the education space for over 30 years, a long time. And we always just kind of like to kick off with our mission. Together with Renaissance, we're working to accelerate learning for all children and adults of all ability levels and ethnic and social backgrounds worldwide. And Justin, if you go to the next slide, awesome, you're a step ahead of me. At Freckle, kind of bringing that down to our level, you know, we often get asked why we're called Freckle, and that's really because we understand that all students are unique, just like the freckles on your face. And so we've really strived to create a program that lets all educators easily differentiate for their students and kind of cater instruction and supports to them, because again, we know that no two students are alike and they're all really unique. We explain ourselves as an instructional solution across all 4 subjects. We've got lots of tools, data, and resources to help teachers save time and maximize student growth. So Melissa will show you more about the specific solutions in a minute. I wanted to kind of give a little background of Freckle and where we're at today. This slide always makes me super excited. Freckle is used in 10,000 districts across all 50 states. So we've got over 1 million teachers on the platform. We've got over 22.8 million student accounts on the platform. We're almost at 90,000 schools, and all time since we were created, we've had close to 7 billion total questions answered. So we love watching this growth. If you'd flip to the next slide, Justin, we've been really particularly proud of how we've been able to support teachers during this crazy time during the pandemic. So we've been tracking teachers who created accounts this year, and you can see right around this kind of time that COVID closures started happening, we had a huge increase in teacher accounts. And so really excited to kind of be able to partner with schools and teachers and districts and help find them solutions for whatever situation and circumstance they're in. So again, a little background about Freckle. We offer solutions in all 4 subject areas. Kind of the 2 things I want to make sure to just say here is we're an adaptive practice platform. So when students are practicing in math and ELA, they're going to be having content that's really on their unique level. And they're going to be able to be fed content and answer questions and grow on their own as they're practicing without too much input from the teachers. That can also be coupled with the targeted assignments piece where we can really, teachers can really hone down into specific areas, specific standards, specific grade level material to focus on student growth in exactly what they're teaching or exactly what they want students to do at home. So again, Melissa will go more in depth on all of these different parts, but just wanted to make sure to touch on that. We really focus on the adaptive growth piece along with targeted assignments for all subjects. Oops, Justin, you stopped sharing, I think. Come back. The next piece I was going to show, there we go. He's coming back. The next piece I was going to show, I'll start talking about, Justin pulling the slide up, perfect, is the different dashboards for students. So again, I mentioned that we have the adaptive piece that's really important to us. Students in different grade levels will actually see a specific tailored experience for them, but they will be able to practice content that is across any of those grade levels. So if I'm a 6th grade student, but I'm really practicing on a 2nd grade level, I'm still gonna be interacting with that 6th grade dashboard, as you can see in the bottom here, but I'm gonna have 2nd grade material that's on my level to help me grow. So we wanna make sure that we have age appropriate experience for all students while still being able to adapt for them. That was a lot, and I'm excited to have Melissa dive in to show you the real things that I'm kind of talking about. So I'm gonna pass it over to her and let her jump in.
Perfect, thank you. I had to get myself off of mute there. So I am going to share my screen, and either Debbie or Justin, either one of you, when it comes up, if you could please just verify so I know when I can actually move forward.
Good to go, Mel.
Can you see it? Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate all of you taking your time to jump on. And I am here as a former teacher, middle school, high school math teacher, former instructional coach, and I am excited to present to you Freckle as a solution. And my goal for us kind of taking a quick walkthrough of this is so that you can really see, how is Freckle set up? How does the platform function? And what can my teachers do to be able to customize and have data to be able to drive their instruction? So for me to be able to accomplish that, what I really like to do is start on the student side. As educators, we don't always go into the student side, but when you do, it really makes a lot more sense as to why the teacher side is set up the way that it is and why we're receiving some of that data that we're receiving. So with that said, if you've got questions as I'm presenting and kind of walking through this, please feel free to post all your questions in the chat, and I know that they are definitely monitoring it. So that being said, what you're looking at right here is a student experience for a student in grades 3, 4, and 5. And just kind of highlighting a few of the key features in our student login page or their home page. And number one, first and foremost, is our motivation system in Freckle is money. And that goes all the way down to our kindergartners and all the way up through our middle school, high schoolers who are using the platform. But essentially, as they're in the platform, they're going to be earning money, which will then in turn open up the store for them to go shopping. And essentially, we've got a huge variety of different things that students can actually choose to decorate or create their own homepage to be more personal to them. So I don't care if you're a kindergartner or that 8th grader, they love going in and they really do enjoy spending the money. So that is our motivation system. Students in 3rd grade and above, they'll be able to create a weekly goal. We're just trying to instill some of this responsibility on our students and really tying it to our motivation system. So in 3rd grade and up, our K2 platform, as you kind of saw when Debbie spoke, is much more simplistic. We don't want to overwhelm them, but again, the foundation of Freckle remains the same for them. But in 3rd grade and up, students will be able to view their progress and really see the progress and progression that they are making within a particular area of math as well as ELA. So that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of jump into math for Freckle. As Debbie said, we've got all 4 subject areas, but for me to actually cover in depth, all of them would definitely take a long time, but I want to give you that high level overview. So going into our math platform, students can access the subject areas down from the bottom, math, ELA, and they're also going to be able to dive into their backpack, which I'm going to touch on a little bit later, but this is where the teachers will be able to create assignments for the students. And that's going to actually lead me back to the teacher side. But backing up, let's take a dive into math. So our math and our ELA platforms are set up very consistently. When students come in, they're able to work adaptively at their level, at their pace. And when the students come in, we've got different practice modes for them to actually go in. Now, typical 3rd grader won't see all 4 of these practice modes because these number basics and number facts are actually geared towards our K2 learners. But knowing that in Freckle, teachers have the flexibility to be able to customize for all of their students. So if you do have a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th grader that may benefit from utilizing and actually working within some of these younger platforms or younger practice modes, teachers can always put those on. So we also have a practice mode that is fact fluency or fact practice. It's working on the fluency with our students. In all 4 operation areas, there's integer operations for my middle school and high school teachers out there. It is definitely a way for them to practice that fluency piece. But what I'm going to take us into right now is Freckle's adaptive math platform so that you can see how it's set up and how it works. When students enter into math, Freckle has decided to break up math into different domains. And it allows us to be able to see strengths and weaknesses across a student's math understanding. So when we take a look at all the different domains, we have to know within our program, where is a specific student's starting point? Where does their knowledge break down in each of these different domains? And there's a couple different ways we do that. We can actually integrate certain systems or certain diagnostic assessments. Number one, obviously being STAR Math assessment. So when students take that diagnostic assessment data or that assessment, we can actually integrate those scores into Freckle so that it will populate these domains with a starting place for our students. If that's not an option, we do have the ability within Freckle, every single domain will start with a pretest so that we can identify where their knowledge breaks down. Do know that those pretests are no more than 12 questions, and some of them end up being a lot shorter, especially for our younger students. So once we determine where is the appropriate starting place for our students, now they can actually come in to practice. So again, we will determine their appropriate starting point. When they come in to practice at Freckle, in math, every adaptive session is 10 questions. Everything is short and sweet in Freckle. We want to keep their attention, not lose it. So we have provided this opportunity for them to practice at an appropriate location. If they don't know, if you will, the answer to our questions, there are supports here. We're not sitting for 20 minutes trying to teach them everything. We know that's the job of your teachers, and that's what we're trying to provide here. So when students come in, if they know they don't answer, or they don't know it, or they get the answer wrong, we've got supports. First opportunity for support is we've got hints. There are auditory supports throughout our entire platform. Additional supports that will populate are instructional videos. There's explanatory videos. There's conceptual introductory videos. And they're short and sweet. They're under 2 minutes long, pertaining to these specific problems so that hopefully they can transfer that knowledge. And there's a peer tutoring option for students. Now, in this distant learning time that we're in, we have seen the creativity of our districts just flourish. Whether their students are communicating with each other in a virtual setting, or they're actually picking up a phone and calling or talking to them, there's a lot of different options, but peer-to-peer tutoring has been extremely successful with a support within Freckle. So knowing a little bit about our adaptive, what it looks like, how the students kind of can navigate in here, this is going to allow students to advance appropriately. Freckle will remediate students accordingly so that it really is teacher hands off if the teacher wants it to be that way, because we will automatically move the students where they need to be. And I hope that makes sense. Normally at this point, I would just kind of pause and ask if there were any questions. So Andy, just gonna kind of call you out. Are there any questions that would support what I just kind of went through on the student side?
Awesome, Melissa. Yeah, we had a couple of questions related to student side. We actually had one of our participants ask about seeing the store. She's been in Freckle before and experienced the student side, but have not had the opportunity to experience it. And is just wondering if we can get a visual on that.
And okay, I am going to say that I prepared myself and made sure that I could open the store in hopes that somebody would actually ask that question, because students actually have to earn their right to go into the store, and they can skip it. They don't have to. A lot of students know that they're saving their money, but when students come in, and again, this is a 3rd through 5th experience, they actually have the ability to shop. So they can see the price of different articles of clothing. They can try on different articles of clothing and see what is appropriate for their student or for their avatar. And there's a lot of different choices in here. And when they decide they actually want to buy something, it's going to say, are you sure you want to spend that much money? And yes. So my kindergartners, they just love to come in and buy, because they may not conceptualize, 65,000 coins, but I'm telling you, they are really good at buying. So, and I hope that helps just kind of give a little preview, but as you can see, this little ticker up at the top, 90 seconds and it kicks them out.
Melissa, mind if I ask another question? And if it's something you might want to cover later, we can always do that. Another question came in earlier, and it's really just wondering about what happens when students are helped by their parents and the data becomes skewed. Would you mind speaking more to that?
Yes, absolutely. So, and I think that was an excellent question. In Freckle, we love to have parent support. Love it. However, the more a parent helps a student when they're working in adaptive practice, the more unreliable that information going to the teacher is going to be. Because as I said before, when we are working, our students are working in Freckle, this is automatically adjusting them based upon their knowledge base. And that data is going to the teacher to say, hey, this student needs some help. We need to pause, give them some small group instruction or direct instruction, and then send them back to Freckle. So the more that your parents are helping, they're really not helping. So I would encourage parents to encourage students to keep trying, if that's a good way to say it, but definitely not sitting and doing a problem with them, maybe post-problem when they're off of Freckle, okay, hey, let's talk about something. But when they're actually in Freckle, I would say be an encourager, not a doer, if that helped.
Thanks, Melissa. All right.
Okay.
The questions we have right now, and again, we're going to take more throughout our webinar today.
Perfect. All right. So that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of transition over to the teacher side. You see what the student side looks like. Now, let's talk a little bit about the teacher's ability to customize, because adaptive practice is phenomenal. That's
Melissa,
not...
before you pop over to the teacher side, would you be able to show how students actually get work from their teachers and what that looks like?
Sure, absolutely. So when your teachers want to customize based upon need, based upon scope and sequence, based upon RTI or IEP or EP goals, they can do that. And they do that with assignments. When a student gets an assignment from their teacher, it's going to be in their backpack. And this has been completely revamped. It actually correlates really well with our 6th grade platform. But essentially, and mine looks a little messy because this is our demo account, but a tile will come up that will say, hey, you need to do this assignment, and this little button will take them directly where they need to be. So any of my K2 teachers or my K2 learners, we definitely recommend that because it makes it easy for them to do. Also, we are really trying to instill that responsibility on the student so they can see what I've completed. And there are opportunities with targeted practice, which I'm going to talk about here in just a second, to retry something. So if they didn't do as well as they want, they can always retry and work on that again with a different set of questions. Is that good, Justin?
Thanks, Melissa. That's awesome.
Sure. Okay. So now, oh, wrong way. So now we're going to jump to the teacher side. And this does not look different if I'm a K2 teacher or an 8th grade teacher. This is all consistent. So number one, especially as a former administrator, what is the learning curve with Freckle? How long is this going to take my teachers to pick up? And for the most part, it's a pretty intuitive platform. Their navigation system is over here on the left-hand side. So let's just kind of talk briefly about assignments. In math, we've got a plethora of different assignments that teachers can choose to utilize to create that customization piece for their students. So a couple different ways that we can actually get to it when it comes up is through our assignments tab up here. Your teachers can always just add an assignment. They can choose which subject area. I'm going to focus on math for today. And there's a whole slew of options that will populate. What data, what information do I need as a teacher so that I can then drive my instruction? We've got adaptive practice. No different than if the students were to go in on their own at night or whenever. It's at their level, at their pace. But we have a lot of teachers that will preload a unit or preload something so that when they go to teach it, they've got that adaptive data. Where are all my kids currently practicing? It's very effective when teachers push it out as assignments. Teachers can assign fact practice, all operations, integers, etc. They can also assign number facts, which is geared towards our K2 learners, which we kind of talked about, focusing on that early addition and subtraction conceptual pieces. But what I'm going to take us into right now is targeted practice. So adaptive practice and targeted practice, when we marry them together, that is really where we're going to get a huge bang for our buck in Freckle. So let's dive in. So this is where your teachers are going to be able to pick a specific standard and push it out to their students. So any of my standards-based grading districts, this is a huge piece when it comes up. So essentially, your teachers will be able to identify their group of students. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in my conversation. There we go. So they're going to be able to identify a group of students. It doesn't have to be all. If they're working small group, they can choose. But again, identify the domain and identify the specific standard that they want to push out. Difference here. targeted practice will give your teachers the data within the standard. It's not going to let students go below the standard. It's not going to let them go above. It's going to give us the data within our standard. Adaptive practice does let them go outside and work at their level. So what data do we need is our question. And what I really appreciate that Freckle has taken into consideration is we try to really ask our teachers, what data do we need so that we can drive instruction? And in Freckle, we give them options. Maybe your teachers are just doing a quick check for understanding so that they know how to guide their group. Or they're trying to evaluate their own teaching so that they know how to proceed for the next coming days. Or maybe we just really need to see how our kids are doing within a standard, and we need that multiple practice points. So the option is there, and Freckle, brand new feature that we have pushed out for our premium customers, is the ability to preview the questions and alter the questions. So if a teacher just doesn't quite jive with the way it's worded, or it's just not what she was looking for, they can always change it to make it more in line with what their needs are.
Hey, Melissa, can I pause you there for a quick second? I think you're hitting on something also too that we haven't covered much. Freckle has both a free and a premium platform. Can you just talk a little bit about that? I know you just showed a unique feature there to be able to change questions. Can you share with some of the differences you might see between that free and paid piece, or the most critical pieces in Freckle?
Yes, I'm going to finish this because I'm going to talk about one more premium feature in here. So we talked about, there's a lot of little features, but I'll highlight the 3 key features. But when your teachers create an assignment, I know so many districts right now are relying on Google Classroom. We've actually created a premium feature of being able to integrate with Google Classroom. So it will create a link on your teachers. It's just one less step that your teachers have to do because we've already hooked it together. So being in line with assignments, that is one of our premium features. So being able to assign things to our students based on their needs, multiple assignments, is a premium feature. So that is definitely one of them. And within our assignments, and there's more, and I'll touch on it when I hit to data too. But within our assignments, and I know I kind of talked about the first ones, you do have the ability to assess down to the standard level. You can always reassign. So know that that option is there. But I cannot come off of this page unless I just talk briefly about inquiry-based lessons. So in this distant learning time, the screen time that these kids are on the computer is insane. Hard to not, but that's just kind of what we're in right now. So these inquiry-based lessons are a resource for your teachers so that we can present material to our students and have them thinking at a much deeper level. So Freckle has provided all teachers access in the premium, this is definitely a premium feature too, with an inquiry-based lesson for every math standard, 1st grade through 8th grade. Algebra 1 is coming. Debbie, am I right? That's what I thought. Okay, I thought
any day now.
Yeah. So essentially, all set up for the teachers. It's anywhere between 3 and 5 days of inquiry work on that specific standard. So when you do have kids that are ready to go deeper, quit going a mile wide and an inch thick, and let's really get them thinking within a standard, check these out. They are phenomenal. Okay. So let me just kind of back up a little bit. We talked about the student side. Students can go in, they can work adaptively. They can work at their level, they can work at their pace in any domain in Freckle. They can do a fact practice. Then we say, okay, that's great, but sometimes my teachers really need to target what we're doing based upon need for data and how we need to move our instruction. So that leads me then to what data is in Freckle so that I can drive my instruction. And where I'm going to lead us to is 2 different places. Number one, we kind of have some surface level data, which is going to give us that granular things that we need, such as what did they do, how long were they on it, what was their accuracy score, etc. So it's kind of that accountability type of data. And that's what we find in our activity feed, where we can drill down to an individual student and say, what have you been doing? It's almost like a running record of everything the student has done in Freckle in a certain time period, so that you can see what they're doing. And notice in Freckle, you've got the ability to be able to go into any of the questions. We don't hide them. As you saw in the assignments, they're here for your teachers to data analyze as much as they need. Additionally, when your teachers create those assignments, they can also see assignment by assignment, how are my kids doing within that particular assignment? And you'll be able to, or they'll be able to pull it up and see, this might be something that maybe a middle school teacher that may want to take a grade on a specific targeted assignment. They can actually come in and see who has started it, who has not. Obviously, this has not, but they'll get that granular type of data. So this is our more surface kind of data that we all need, but may not necessarily drive that week-to-week instruction. And that's where I'm just going to highlight a couple different reports here in Freckle. Data can be overwhelming for all of us. I get it. So I always just kind of lean my teachers towards two reports. Class groupings, which aligns with adaptive practice, as well as performance by standard, which is going to tell your teachers just that. How are we doing within a standard? So just to peek at them, when your teachers are preloading those assignments for adaptive practice and they need that data prior to teaching the unit, they can come in for any domain and see exactly everybody in their class and where they're adaptively practicing. So that going into, let's say, my fractions unit, if I'm teaching 4th grade fractions based on my scope and sequence, I already have a list of kids that I need to hold tight. I need to group them for very direct instruction, while I already have a group of kids who are well beyond it. They're ready to go deeper from the start. You've got this data at your fingertips and it's applicable immediately. And the last report I'm going to touch on is our performance by standard. And personally, it is my favorite report because it's easily accessible and easy to use information. So essentially, we will identify a standard, and teachers can always filter and make this, more concise, but we're going to see a snapshot of our class. How are they doing in this standard based on everything they have done in Freckle? Adaptive practice, targeted practice, assessment, it's here. So when we expand it, Freckle is going to naturally bucket the students into proficiency buckets so that we can see, oh, I just taught this and now I'm going to have to reteach. So they can see where the kids are falling. And if they ever question, how did they get there? There's a running record of what the student has done in this particular standard. So this is here for your teachers to help guide them on that day-to-day, week-to-week basis of moving kids around and shifting them so that their instruction is deliberate and it's appropriate. So that being said, I think took my time and took my entire 20 minutes, but Andy, before I hand it back over, are there any other questions that kind of came in from the teacher side?
Yeah, it looks like we had a couple of really good ones that are going to combine and collapse into one. So I think there's some interest in knowing more about social studies. Wondering if you can maybe spend a minute or two, whether showing or even talking about the content that's available. We definitely do have social studies.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to kind of shift our brains a little bit because our science and social studies platforms are set up a little bit different. Yes, we can differentiate for all of our kiddos in those particular content areas, but this is really designed as a resource for our teachers to be able to do that and to be able to get our kids into some really meaty kind of activities. So the way they're set up is by unit. And there are an immense number of units. And I believe, Debbie, correct me, didn't we just add 2 more units?
Yeah, like yesterday.
That's what I thought. So there's a lot of units, and notice they are broken up by grade band. So some might be applicable for some grade bands. Teachers have access to all of these on the premium edition. So just going into one of them, let me go into me, my family, and my community, K2 unit. But essentially, what this is going to provide our teachers is an overview. They're going to get general materials that would be applicable for all of the lessons. And the units are broken up into lessons. And the teachers can see and pick and choose what would be applicable based on my standards, my curriculum, and the time that I have to teach social studies or science, because science is set up identical. In every lesson, there is an article that teachers can push out at an adaptive reading level, so that if we are working in an 8th grade classroom, but I know I've got kids reading at the 3rd and 5th grade level, they can receive those articles, but everybody is going to be reading about, in this case, families, so that we can all participate in the conversations and the activities at hand, but kids are going to be able to read it appropriately at their level. So coming back to our unit, just know that there's a lot here. On the free edition, we do have a lot of this grayed out. When you upgrade to premium, there is no restrictions, and they have access to utilize all of this. So Andy, I hope that just gave a quick, brief snippet. And science is set up identically the same, and we are aligned in science to the NGSS standards.
Thanks, Melissa.
Sure. Anything else?
The other one that came in, I think is actually kind of interesting too. If you'd like to, or maybe our other presenters would like to address it too, you're more than welcome. Just a question on clarification. Free version assigns assignments, premium version allows the teacher to assign?
Great question. So, and I know I mentioned it and I failed to circle back around to it. So 3 different key differences between free and premium, just to keep it simple, along with a lot of other features. Assignments. In our premium edition, there is unlimited assignments. You can choose groups, you can, however you want to do assignments, there's no restrictions. On our free edition, when your teachers choose to create an assignment, in math, they get 1 assignment at a time. Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it goes to everybody, and they have to wait for everybody to finish before they can create another one. So that is not always conducive in the environment that we have in our schools. So I will say though that through the COVID pandemic, Freckle has graciously opened up that premium feature for all teachers right now. So they have access to unlimited assignments, because that was our #1 request coming in. But that is valid through June 30th. Beyond June 30th, it'll revert back to the 1 at a time, etc. The other thing I did not touch on is data. So assignments, data. On the free version of Freckle, we provide data to our teachers current week at a time. And after that current week, Monday through Friday, we don't delete it, it just gets hidden. So they do not and cannot track necessarily progress over time, but they would be able to see what's happening this current week. And Debbie, correct me, do they see all students in their?
That depends on the specific report. So some reports on the free version are restricted just to the week, and some just show a few students. It varies based on the report. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Melissa, I know we have so many administrators on the call too. I'd also love to add as well that part of the feature of the premium platform are an administrator dashboard, which Donovan's going to go through now, that can show you all that actionable data that can really help drive instruction, accountability, and planning. So that's another feature. Not to mention, we know that right now with distance learning, the challenges we have with implementing and really helping launch an effective distance learning platform. With our premium platform, you're going to have an account manager as well, who's going to be a thought partner for you to help you plan for this, understand your specific needs. As we know, all districts are totally unique. Some have technology, some are lacking technology. We've seen some poll results where there's certain parts of the platform that people really need that additional support, like social studies or science or special education. You're going to have that thought partner there that's going to truly help you identify and build that plan to be successful with the distance learning platform.
Love it. So that is a great transition into Donovan. So just me wrapping up, as you can see, the Freckles teacher dashboard is rich. It provides your teachers data that can really provide key insights to make informed decisions and really just drive high quality personalized instruction. So now I am going to throw it over to Donovan, who's going to show you a little bit about the administrator dashboard and what you as an administrator would be able to see within that. So I'll stop sharing.
Great job, Melissa. Thank you for that. It's always a pleasure to watch you demonstrate and get fired up about Freckle. We know that as administrators and instructional leaders of the building, data is what drives instruction. So this view of the administrative dashboard is going to give you real-time data to help drive instruction and support planning and accountability. The platform is very user-friendly. You'll notice on the left-hand side, you have different tabs here. We're going to focus on usage data and growth data today. If you are at a district level, you'll be able to select a certain school. If you are a building administrator, you will only see your school here. You have the date range tabs. This allows you to focus on a specific time frame that you want to hone in on data. So if you want to do pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID to know how the platform is being used, it'd be great to plug in those dates there. Total minutes spent practicing and total sessions. This is a great feature here. When I was an administrator in Atlanta Public Schools, what we did was we would put the total number of minutes outside of each classroom door, and we had a huge thermometer set up at the beginning in the lobby of the school. We would track the progress to see how much time was being spent. This is a great way to get kids fired up about using the platform, but because of the store and the adaptability, you won't have any problem with students wanting to get on Freckle. The bar graph to the left here shows the time spent on the subject and the sessions spent on subjects, right? And this is great knowledge to have. But as an administrator, you want to dive deeper and you want to find out exactly what were the teachers doing during that time, what were they assigning, what were students choosing to do. You can take that data and then help drive your instruction and planning. So for instance, over here, we see that the adaptive math was used pretty heavily throughout the school year. If this yielded the results you want, then you can keep it. If it didn't, then perhaps you want to say, maybe in January when we come back from winter break, we need to want to focus on more math targeted sessions so that that can drive the instructions towards the end of the year to make sure that we are ready for our grade level assessment. You can show this data monthly so that your teachers can be aware of their progress. We scroll down, we'll see here the usage by teacher. This goes in ascending or descending order. And this is great. So if you have one of those teachers and you want to know, hey, what's going on in their room? That's great. Why are they rocking and rolling? You can go in here and see the correlation between the time spent and the number of sessions. Perhaps you have a teacher that's not doing so well, that needs a little bit of assistance, whether it be professional development plan. This is where you can implement, hey, we need to spend more time on these sessions and in this area. Now we'll go to the growth data.
Hey, Donovan, you mentioned before too, if you're having meetings for people, right? Hey, can this data be taken out of Freckle, out of the administrator dashboard and used in any other way?
Great question, Justin. Yes, so here you'll notice the little hamburgers up here throughout each section. You'll be able to download that information and print it out if necessary.
Awesome, thanks.
So again, we remain with user-friendly here, right? So we're in math. Again, if you're at a district level, you can select the school. The grades, this is great for professional learning communities. So if you have a grade level where you can focus on and show their data. The domains, again, we're in math, so these are all going to be math domains. And of course, your range to show the dates. I love this feature here with the pie graph. It's easy to hover over and see the percentage there. This is something that you could show if you were doing a presentation to your area superintendent for average grade level growth. According to your date range, of course, you want to see your struggling students decrease in number throughout the school year. So if you change your date, you can show that. Student growth by grade. So what's rocking and rolling in fourth grade? What are they doing that's driving a great success? You can dive deeper by looking there as well. Notice the student growth by domain. This is going to include all of the math domains. So let's go up here and let's select the school. And then let's select third grade. Traditionally, this is where students begin testing. Now you'll notice that again, we have just a single third grade data focus here, as well as the other domains that are not relevant to third grade went away. Now you can see, we know that with the state testing, there are certain percentages of domains, and you can see how your students are performing and what areas you need to work on to make sure that they are prepared so you don't have any surprises come assessment time. We know that there's a correlation between students using Freckle and their success, and this data shows that. The more time spent, the more questions spent, the greater their accuracy is. The growth by teacher. Again, this can be in descending or ascending order. What's happening? What teachers are growing students? This is great for mid-year conferences, end-of-the-year evaluations. This is also a great piece where if you had to measure, if you're planning for the next school year, and you have students that need to grow 1.25 grade levels, you can match them with the teacher that's growing those students at that level. It's a great way to reward teachers for their success. Also to acknowledge the work that they're doing. Yes, you may have a teacher who students consistently pass the state test, but are they growing them? This is where you can find out what's going on there. The growth by students. This is a great way to reward students because they may not necessarily pass the test, but are they growing? This student grew 2.27 grade levels in a year. This is a great way to reward that student for their success and their hard work. This is also a great way because if you look at it, you can see students that need help. Maybe there's a correlation between the minutes and the sessions and the time, and you can address those issues. If they're not spending enough time on the product, maybe there's a way we can get them an intervention to make sure that they are being successful. Overall, this administrative dashboard is a robust platform that's driven to help plan, instruction, and accountability.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Donovan.
Hey, Justin or Melissa, we did have some questions about printables. I'm not sure if we've got time to dive in real quick. Justin, I know you love the printables, but if we have time, you know, given the distance learning environment, it might be awesome to kind of show that off.
Absolutely. Melissa, do you still have your dashboard up? I can talk through it while you're pulling it up. So let me stop sharing here. I'm glad we got the question about printables. Printables are one of my favorite features, as you mentioned, Debbie, to the entire.
Field that, yeah.
It is, especially because right now students working at home, we know not everybody has the ability to have technology or to be able to reach students at their own individual level. I've never seen anything like this before in any other platform, but what Freckle allows you to do is, especially right now during distance learning, if we don't have the technology capabilities, we can certainly leverage all of the printable features within Freckle, which work just like the online version. We have adaptive printables. We also have grade level targeted printables as well. Why I love the printables so much, though, Debbie, is the adaptable piece. The fact that you can send a printable home with a student that's reaching them at their own individual level, and you can provide a different resource if you want to give a homework or an assignment to the student. Each student's getting it at level for where they're working. So what I'm going to get, Debbie, is different than what you're going to get, which is different than what Melissa's going to get. It's different than what Donovan's going to get. Teachers have to do no work. And the way I look back at this too, when I first started working at Freckle, my son was giving 2-digit addition homework. We were in a district that was not very technologically advanced, and every day he'd come home with almost the exact same worksheet. After the second day, I mean, it was clear he completely understood it. They continued to give him the same homework over and over. To me, those were missed opportunities as a parent to challenge my student to more challenging work that was more on level for him. And these printables right here, as Melissa's showing, notice each student's printable is different than the other students before. So for example, this is Cesar Chavez, as Melissa has on the screen here. If we scroll down, you can see the questions that are here. But look how this is so much different than Bill Clinton's. The fact that we can adapt through printables, to me, is just such a powerful tool to unlock both for distance learning as well in the classroom. And what's nice about these as well is once you assign these as a teacher, you have all the answers at the bottom for each of these individual different adaptable printables. Now, as students progress and move on to the platform, the printables change with them as well, just like it does when they're using the online piece. So Debbie, those are a lot of the reasons why I like it. Hopefully I did a good job sharing that, but I'm very passionate about those adaptable printables. I think they're awesome.
Me too, they're awesome.
So I did want to just jump in here. I'm actually working with a large district in Massachusetts, and this was a huge piece for them right now because they don't have access for all of their students. And so I really asked them to dive deeper into what was their plan for getting materials to students so that they can work and they can continue to learn in this environment. and they were having drive-ups on a weekly basis. So these printable resources were essential to have so that they could prepare, print for any student that did not have those online resources, and they were able to utilize this. So adaptively, or this does correlate with a standards-based targeted printable as well. So the availability of them are fantastic.
Melissa, before you close out here, I hate to throw you on the spot. I see we're getting some questions about ELA really quick. Could you just pop into ELA? I mean, it's obviously a robust platform, but we've talked so much about differentiation. We've talked about the needs to deliver content to each student at their own individual level, how challenging that can be right now, finding content when students are remotely. Can you just pop into whether we're looking at the student side or teacher side, and just show some ways we can leverage ELA?
Absolutely. So just so that you can kind of see what's here, it is set up very similarly to math, where students can come into ELA and they can practice adaptively. Just like in math, we have to know where is that adaptive level, so we can align with your F&Ps, we can align with DRA, we can have the STAR reading scores infiltrate come the start of the school year this coming year. So there's a lot of different ways to, and the Freckle pretest, but there's a lot of different ways that we can determine where that is. Once we know, then students can come work adaptively in our article library. There's fiction and nonfiction. Everything is automatically aligned to that student's needs. So articles are going to work on increasing that reading level, working on that overall comprehension. Sorry, I want to just touch on a couple of the practice modes. Skills practice is geared towards second grade and up, because it's really going to focus in on particular areas, including grammar, which is a brand new release that we have. It has been widely successful, but essentially they're going to be working on those skills adaptively, and or teachers can assign a specific targeted area to work on. So just like in math, we've got this adaptive platform, and we also have the ability to target that instruction based on need. So the other piece that we have, I always like to talk about my K2 teachers as well. So in Freckle, just like in math, there's additional practice modes for our ELA. We've got a word study, which is actually aligned, really meant for kindergartners all the way up through middle school. And it's Freckle's way to really focus on foundational skills within and word patterns within words. And Debbie, you may want to jump in here because I know this is your area of expertise, but we start all the way down with our younger kiddos with phonemic awareness and continue to work on skills and progress all the way up into Greek and Latin root words. Debbie, did you want to jump in on word study?
You got it. That was awesome.
All right. And we do have sight words here, which is a work through for our younger students, just giving them additional visual and practice with those sight words. So again, adaptively working here. Teachers can go to the teacher side. They can assign just like in math, and the data is very similar. They still have those same reports that you can also see in math.
Hey, Mel, can I put you on the spot for one more moment? Can we jump to the
Sure.
teacher side just so all of our attendees can see just kind of the magic of how we do the adaptive assign articles and what that looks like based on where each individual student's working?
Sure, I was kind of almost there when I was in the social studies platform, but with our articles, kids can read at their level, they can read at their choice, but when our teachers actually want to focus, whether it's based on a topic they're teaching or a skill that they're really focusing on, there's a lot of choice in our article library here for teachers, including articles that we leave only for teacher accessibility. There's nothing worse than I already did that from the kids, or I already read that. So there is teacher only access here, but essentially lots of different ways to filter. If you've got some really high readers in your classes, you can make sure that you're accessing those articles. But essentially every article is written in multiple levels. So that if we identify this is the article I want to push out, we're going to all read about dreams and discuss it. Teachers can preview any article that is here. They can include various pieces to it, like a writing assignment. But when they go to assign it, this is where we can ask ourselves, what is our purpose? Why are we assigning this? Do I need everybody to read, understand, and participate in a discussion? We can assign adaptive level. so that every kid will automatically receive the most appropriate article for them. Or your teachers can come here and say, nope, I need us to integrate with on grade level text, and every student will receive that text. But in Freckle, in all of our platform, teachers have the power to adjust any student as they see fit. So it's powerful because we can have all of our kids participating and not present an article to some that is so above their level that they won't do it.
That was great, Melissa. And I think the other great feature about that too is it allows all students the ability to participate. Oftentimes with textbooks, we're gonna have one level text for all students. Teachers are oftentimes spending time trying to find on-topic content for students based on their own individual levels. What's awesome about the Freckles articles are they're delivered to each student, so all students can participate on that topic, be engaged, and have that equity to participate. So awesome feature there in our ELA platform. Thanks so much for sharing that, Melissa. If you wanna stop sharing, we'll just close this out here. And hopefully I can do a better job switching my screen this time than when you were presenting, Debbie. So hopefully everyone can see my screen here. We just got 2 more slides here.
You're
but
good.
Awesome. But thanks to all the panel for taking us through the data and things that are available within both the administrator dashboard, teachers, and students. One thing to note is, if you liked seeing the teacher dashboard that Melissa showed, all administrators throughout that dashboard that Donovan shared, the administrator dashboard, can easily impersonate any teacher and dive into that teacher's dash with just a click of a button. So we just showed you a lot about Freckle overall, but we'd be remiss if we didn't show you how this works in conjunction with our other products to deliver a totally connected, streamlined growth platform. And it really starts by really putting students, that entrance into Freckle is so easy right now, especially with trying to get students on board remotely with the STAR assessments, which puts students in the right place in Freckle. So first step is to take that assessment. The STAR assessments are unparalleled accuracy. And then we move to step 2, which is really instructing those students with those insights. And then we assign the right practice to the right student at the right time. This motivates that mastery and student agency with engaging online teaching tools for both the math and literacy. And then we move to uncover those issues of inequity or achievement early, and we can impact them with platforms like our Schoolzilla. And then finally, I think the part that we all really enjoy is celebrating the growth with a complete picture of each student's performance at the school, district, and even student level. And so we talk about really finding that right platform, right? When students can use the same digital solutions from home that they use inside the classroom, moving to learning remotely is easier for everyone. Renaissance is here to help you and your students continue teaching, learning, and growing inside and outside of the classroom with those critical elements to make that possible. For example, you have one log-on for all of our products. That is huge. The ability to do a 20-minute formative assessment to help you know exactly where your students are. Having the literacy and math online learning tools that engage students in their growth, giving them the exact right practice at the exact right time. And then finally, that the data visualization piece, wow, that's our tongue twister today, that show you a complete picture of student performance at the district, school, and the student level. With all this at your fingertips, it allows you to make those informed choices from pedagogy to policy. And finally here, before we open it up and I think we've covered a lot of our questions, I just want to thank everyone on this call for their time and all you're doing to support the students across the country. As we stated when we opened up this call, we understand everyone's at different places along their journey. And as a leader in this space, we're here to be a thought partner with you. If you like what you've seen today and you're looking to explore how the full power of Freckle's premium features like unlimited data, unlimited assignments, an administrator dashboard, having that dedicated account manager resource to best support your distance learning journey, please email us at support@freckle.com. We'll get you pushed to the right rep. So again, we're confident that we have the right solutions in place to support an effective distance learning program. And I'd also be remiss not to mention, knowing all the things are going on budgets, there are cost-saving solutions available to you to help you stretch that budget dollar further. So with that said, please reach out to us. We'd love to engage in those conversations and be a thought partner. I would love to open up now, Andy, if we have any final Q&A questions.
Let me check. Yeah, so just to reiterate, yeah, thank you everybody for attending. I'm seeing that we don't actually, which is kind of good. I think we answered them all throughout between the group here, so thank you presenters. If you are if you do have questions, feel free to use the Q&A function and send those right away. We can stay on for a little bit and happy to respond to the questions. But for anybody who is on a tight time schedule, again, just thank you so much for attending today's Freckle Premium webinar. We can't wait to get in touch with you further. And just to let you all know, you are going to get a follow-up email from us, and it's going to provide you a link to the recording. So feel free to send this out to your teachers or some of your other staff who you think might be interested in this. Let's see what questions we have. All right, so yep, there will be a recording sent. So thank you for asking that. You're gonna get that within 24 hours after today. Yeah, no other questions.
That's about it.
We did great, guys. All right, so again, thank you all to the participants today. We hope that you're gonna stay safe, healthy, and everything. We're gonna do our best to do the same too. So thank you again for attending.
Thanks all.